Hey everyone, this is Joe from As the Joe Flies, and just still working on this live video stuff and seeing how it goes. So I was thinking of starting a new series called Deciphering Disney. Just kind of basically, I'm starting to get a lot more questions about Disney and families planning their trips, and I don't know, there's a lot of things to understand about Disney. It can get pretty confusing. So, I just thought I'd start doing a short series, 5 to 10 minutes, just talking about kind of the basics of Disney if you're trying to plan a trip. First of all, I know I messed with some live video the other day when I was back in Disney. Just want to appreciate everyone who said that I looked terrible and gave me tips on what camera angles to use. Ultimately, this is just my face. This is all I can do. Thanks, Dad, for that, by the way. Happy Father's Day to all you dads out there. I'm just chilling at home with my kids. They're down for a nap. And so, I just thought I'd try and mess with this for a little bit. All right, so Deciphering Disney, Episode 1. So I'm going to be mostly talking about Walt Disney World in Florida because that's what I know about. I know there's a whole different world in Disneyland, no pun intended. But let's just take a look at the basics. So some things that people don't get about Walt Disney World is there's four, or you could call it six different parks in Walt Disney World, and it can be pretty overwhelming to decide which of the parks to go to. So when you think Disney World, and so I'll just go through the four parks in the chronological order that they were created. So when you think Disney World, the first thing you think about is the Magic Kingdom, and the Magic Kingdom is basically, if you have younger kids, you're going to be thinking about the Magic Kingdom. That's where Fantasyland is. Fantasyland is where you have teacups, you have the Peter Pan ride, It's a Small World, all those things that you kind of associate with Disney and, the stories that Disney has had in the past. Magic Kingdom is where you have that iconic Cinderella's castle, where, people take a lot of pictures. And so, really, if you're dealing with younger kids, you might be thinking about planning to spend 2 to 3 days at the Magic Kingdom because, that's what they appreciate. So, just talking about some highlights of Magic Kingdom. So for the younger kids, the highlights are obviously going to be the rides that are based on movies, like the aforementioned Peter Pan. It's a Small World is always a hit with little kids just because it's really cute, the song's catchy, they can sing it, and you can never get it out of your head, unfortunately. Enchanted Tales with Belle is great. It's not a ride. What it actually is Belle from Beauty and the Beast comes out and they tell the story of Beauty and the Beast, but they use your kids and two adults as actors in the story, and the kids really love it, and they get a chance to take a photo with Belle at the end. So there's a lot of great stuff for kids there. If you are have older kids or you're an adult yourself, you like thrill rides, there's of course Space Mountain, which everyone loves, and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, Splash Mountain, which is my personal favorite. So there's a lot of stuff to do in Magic Kingdom. You can spend 2 to 3 days there easy and call it a day. But there are three other parks in Walt Disney World, and when people are planning their vacations, they don't always think about whether they should be committing time to those other parks or not. So the next park to talk about is Epcot, which originally stood for the Experimental Prototype City of Tomorrow, or something like that. City of Tomorrow for sure. Yes, Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow, excuse me. And so Epcot used to be kind of like the edutainment park. So they have the huge, gigantic golf ball, which is Spaceship Earth, which takes you through technology through the years, but it ends with a PC that is like the size of an entire room, so that's kind of out of date. But everyone rides that. One quick tip: just wait till the end of the day to ride that. There'll be no lines. That's where everyone goes in the beginning of the day, and the lines are crazy. The big draw for Epcot these days, especially if you're an adult, is World Showcase. That is where there are 11 countries who have pavilions set up around a big lake, and each of the countries is staffed by people from that country, and they bring some of the unique flavors from those countries, both literally and metaphorically, to Epcot. So a lot of people like to do what's called drinking around the world. So this is obviously for people of drinking age, but they'll start either in Mexico, which is on the left side, and go clockwise, or they'll start in Canada, which is on the right side, and go counterclockwise. And there's 11 countries, 11 drinks. That's a lot. So yeah, I'm pretty much done after two. Epcot is a park that I would say that, if you have younger kids, you might want to consider skipping. The one caveat to that is that Norway in the World Showcase now has the Frozen Ever After ride, which a lot of people are into. The problem with that is you might have to wait 100 minutes if you can't get a fast pass for that. Or if the way to beat the lines there really is to wait until like the very end of the night, which is at like 9 or 10 p.m. But if you have young kids, that's going to be tough for you. The third park was Hollywood Studios. That was, originally it was kind of like, they had a backlot tour, but it's really evolved. And honestly, Hollywood Studios is under a lot of construction right now because they're building Toy Story Land that's coming out in 2018, and they're building Star Wars Land that's coming out in 2019. And so, Hollywood Studios has a lot of good thrill rides if you're older. They have Rock and Roller Coaster, which I think is that's the only ride at Walt Disney World that actually has a loop. So, you can ride that if you'd like. There's Tower of Terror, which is always great. And there's there's Star Tours, which is fun, which is a Star Wars simulator, and there are some shows which are cool. But yeah, honestly, again, older kids might really enjoy it because they have a lot of the Star Wars stuff. But younger kids, aside from they have this Disney Junior section that younger kids really love, but besides that, it might be a park that you might consider skipping, especially if you're short on time, or just giving a half day and resting for the rest of the day. Final park, Animal Kingdom, which is super hot in the news right now because of the opening of Pandora World of Avatar. That park was originally designed, kind of with Disney's push towards building talking about ecology of the earth and taking care of the earth. Animal Kingdom had opened on Earth Day, so its anniversary every year. This 20-year anniversary just passed this past Earth Day. And so, there's a very cool safari there that everyone loves, of all ages, that runs at night too now, which is super cool. There are various rides. There's probably one of the best thrill rides in all of Disney World, which is which is Mount Everest, Expedition Everest. That's one of the best rides out there. And then, of course, there's the opening of the new Pandora World of Avatar, which has Flight of Passage, which is pretty much one of the most impressive thrill rides that you'll ever ride. Anyway, so really quickly, those are the four parks. Personally, I feel like if you're going to take one Disney trip in your entire life, you need to allot at least a week. If you go more often, then you probably don't even need to watch this video. But just really quickly, if you have young kids, I think you're probably focusing on Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom first, just because that is the stuff that is really going to appeal to those young kids. And you're going to have to go back for naps, and so you can't do full days. As your kids get older, you might start throwing in Hollywood Studios and ultimately Epcot. Epcot is kind of that park that kids don't really appreciate that much because things don't seem as fun to them, although I loved it when I was a kid because I was a little nerd. But that is what you got to do. So Leslie says she skips Animal Kingdom most of the time, but that's just because Leslie doesn't like nature. So what can I say, Leslie? So yeah, and then if you are an adult going, I think definitely you want to spend some time at Epcot, going around the world, even if you don't drink. Just going around the world and trying all the different foods they have, especially during either Food and Wine Festival in the fall or Flower Garden Festival in the spring, or they just added that new Arts Festival in the winter. So they almost always have something going on at Epcot that is good for adults, and that's a great park for adults to go to. Anyway, that's it. Like I said, it's just a simple overview of the 4 different parks and what there is. Maybe we'll get more into depth about that later. In future installments, I kind of want to talk about, what types of tickets you want to think about buying, what you can do to save money. But yeah, I'm going to try to post this on YouTube, so you can subscribe to my channel, As Joe Flies, and leave this on Facebook, and let me know any comments, questions you have, and I'll try to answer them. Thanks, and happy Father's Day again, everybody.